The world's most visited museum lost part of its royal sparkle in 7 minutes. 4 masked riders rolled up with a lift, reached an upstairs window of the Galerie d'Apollon, and went straight for the cases that hold the last echoes of France's crown jewels. The thieves left behind one fallen crown, and a country full of questions. Money matters, sure, but this hit wasn't just about price. It struck at memory, and that's where the story begins, because the pieces they took weren't simply expensive. They were part of how France remembers itself. The Galerie d'Apollon isn't just a room, it's a stage set for power. Gilded beams, painted ceilings, showcases that hold the survivors of revolutions, empires, and fragile restorations. For tourists, it's jaw-dropping. For professionals, it's predictable. Rooms like this are meant to impress, but they also create habits of visitor flow, guard patrols, lighting, and viewing angels. The crew used that predictability like a lever. A vehicle-mounted lift, an upper-level window. Not subtle, not quiet, but fast. The kind of move that says, we've studied your rhythms, and we don't need long. They didn't wander. No hesitation. They hit a tight cluster of vitrines, took what they came for, and refused to let the noise slow their hands. If the entry looked audacious, the selection made it feel deliberate. They didn't chase random sparkle. They raided a genealogy. A tiara from the jewelry set of Queen Marie-Amélie and Queen Hortense, a necklace from the same duo's sapphire jewelry set, a single earring from the sapphire jewelry set, an emerald necklace from a set belonging to Empress Marie-Louise, a pair of emerald earrings from the Marie-Louise set, a brooch known as the reliquary brooch, the tiara of Empress Eugénie, a large brooch of Empress Eugénie, plus a 9th item the crew tried to take, the crown of Empress Eugénie, which was dropped and recovered nearby, according to the Interior Ministry. These weren't just pretty objects. They were political jewelry designed to speak without words. But how does it begin? At 9:30 a.m., about half an hour after opening, a crew raised a truck-mounted ladder to the second-floor Galerie d'Apollon, then used an angle grinder to breach a window loud visible and brutally efficient. Inside, they smashed cases, swept the pre-picked pieces, and were back out in minutes, engines screaming toward the river roads. The alarms did their job, but the thieves did theirs faster. That precision is why a single recovered crown sits in evidence, while the rest may already be changing hands. In heists like this, time on target isn't a detail that's the whole playbook. But if the alarms worked, why did the plan still succeed? Here's the uncomfortable part. Even great museums spend years playing catch-up with modern securities across massive historic buildings. Audits have warned about lagging upgrades, patchy camera coverage, and blind angles in sprawling wings. Inside, alarms can trigger exactly as designed. Outside, a street can still become a ladder if the perimeter isn't watched like a wall. When you combine a predictable gallery layout with a public-facing approach, you get a scenario where a fast crew can script their own 7-minute play. No need to outsmart the entire institution. Just exploit the gap between inside safe and outside normal. That's the seam. And seams tear under pressure. The plan worked. Now the chase begins. Once the glass settled, investigators widened the circle fast. Cameras around the Louvre, transit routes across the city, highways leading out. It's not just museum security at this point. It's anti-gang units and cultural goods specialists building a timeline out of grainy frames and forensic traces, fingerprints, tool marks, phone pings, automatic plate readers. The idea is simple. Thieves move, networks leave tracks. But there's a second clock running. Jewels can be recut, settings can be melted. Once a stone loses its identifying quirks, you're not recovering a jewel, you're recovering materials. The prosecutor's valuation of millions means investors, intermediaries, and handlers are probably already in play. The best shot at a full recovery is speed. Every day the pieces remain intact is a day hope stays real. But what these jewels actually represent, for centuries, royal jewelry wasn't just decoration. It was messaging. Color palettes weren't random. Blue sapphires for calm authority, emeralds for wealth and rebirth, diamond sprays to throw sunlight like a public statement. These pieces carried marriages between dynasties, peace between rivals, and the story of who deserved to rule. Even after monarchies fall, their objects remain as artifacts of how power wanted to be seen. That's why a crown behind glass feels different from a crown on a head. In a museum, the public owns the gaze. Everyone gets to read the symbolism without needing an invitation to a palace. Breaking that chain of access and snatching the object back into private hands doesn't just steal wealth, it steals access. Now for the chatter. Unverified, but impossible to ignore. Experts who study high-value thefts often point to a familiar pattern after jewel raids. Reports and analyses suggest stones are at risk of being quickly altered, recut, reset, separated from recognizable mountings because it's the fastest way to make unique objects untraceable. Rumors online have floated theories about a prearranged buyer or a chain of middlemen ready to process the haul in stages. To be clear, none of that is confirmed. It's the usual noise that follows a spectacular heist. What we do know is market physics. The more intact and famous a piece is, the harder it is to fence and the better the chances of recovery. The more it's reduced to components, the easier it is to move on, the harder it is to ever come home. That's the fork in the road investigators are racing against. But was this just about cash or something else? Analysts have noted that the chosen cases read like a pocket history of legitimacy in France. The Napoleonic orbit through Marie-Louise, Second Empire glamour through Eugénie, the July monarchy through Marie-Amélie and Hortense. If you wanted maximum stone value, value, you could spread risk across different cases. If you wanted symbolic value, you'd do exactly what this crew did. Hit a short run of vitrines that connect a lot of eras at once. That doesn't prove a motive. It just tells a story the selection could be trying to tell. In the underworld, story sells. This isn't just an emerald necklace. This is an emerald necklace from an empress. Whether a buyer ever hears that pitch or whether the stones get shaved down before a sales pitch even happens, those are two very different endings. Only one preserves history. But how a 7-minute crime can trigger years of policy. The museum reopened quickly, but the fallout will last longer than the closure's news cycle. Lawmakers want specifics on camera networks, staffing, and street-side monitoring. Curators want guarantees that the galleries that draw the most phones also draw the most protection. Visitors want to feel safe around objects that are irreplaceable. There's also a public relations reality. For years, the Louvre has symbolized a balance, global access, and national stewardship. A hit like this threatens that trust. The fix isn't a press conference. It's procurement. More coverage, fewer blind angles, faster response choreography between museum teams and city police. It's dull and expensive work. But dull and expensive work is what keeps crowns where they belong. This wasn't the Louvre's first shock, and the past offers a warning. When the Mona Lisa vanished in 1911, the theft made the painting even more famous. It returned intact, and the legend grew. Jewel heists don't grant that luxury. You can hide a canvas. You can't uncut a gemstone. If there's a lesson, it's that fame is a double-edged sword. It brings crowds and money. It also invites tests. The world loves the Louvre. So do people who want to see if they can beat it. The museum knows this. Curators know this. So do the teams now reviewing every choke point, every camera, every routine that used to feel sufficient. If there's any good in this, it's that nothing drives change like a public jolt. Prestige is wonderful. Vigilance is non-negotiable. So what does recovery might look like? And why is hope still rational? Success stories usually follow one of three paths. 1. Speed. A rapid chain of searches and warrants finds a stash before anyone has time to alter the haul. 2. Pressure. Moving hot goods becomes riskier than holding them, and someone flips. An intermediary, a driver, a broker. 3. Pride. A buyer wants the myth intact and keeps the piece recognizable. That last path is rare, but it happens, especially with items that carry a name, not just a value. If recovery comes, it will come with a story. Some combination of surveillance, forensics, and human error. A single careless message, a plate that should have been swapped, a tool bought with a traceable card. People make plans. Plans leave fingerprints, and history is patient. This story isn't just about a museum or a city or a country. Walk through any great museum and you'll see the same balancing act. Let the world in, keep the world's treasures safe. It's harder than it sounds. Buildings age, systems lag, funding swings with public attention. Yet the equation can't change. Access without protection is theater. Protection without access is storage. The Louvre's heist isn't just a French problem. It's a global reminder. The places that hold our shared past have to keep evolving faster than the people who want to test them. And that takes more than alarms. It takes perimeter awareness. It takes staffing levels that match attendance. It takes camera coverage that treats streets like hallways and hallways like vaults. The pieces stolen were made to be seen. The best way to honor them now is to make sure that when they come home, if they come home, no one gets 7 minutes ever again.